inside the stories that affect you. This is Inside KELOLAND.
Well, thanks for joining us. I'm Tom Hansen. On today's Inside KELOLAND, the man convicted in the 1975 killings of 2 FBI agents on the Pine Ridge Reservation had his sentence commuted this week by now former President Joe Biden. We'll have a look back at the case of Leonard Peltier. Then we'll sit down with a member of the League of Women Voters about this year's legislative session at the state capitol. After that, we'll talk with our own Capitol News Bureau reporter, Bob Mercer, about what he's seeing at the session so far. And finally, we'll have a deeper look at the challenges the homeless shelters in Sioux Falls are seeing this winter and the changes they think the city needs to better help those impacted by homelessness. Well, just moments before leaving office earlier this week, President Joe Biden commuted the life sentence of Leonard Peltier. He was convicted in the 1975 killings of 2 FBI agents on the Pine Ridge Reservation. Now, the commutation ends 50 years of prison life for the former member of the American Indian Movement.
Leonard Peltier was denied parole as recently as July and was not eligible for parole again until 2026. In 1987, he maintained his innocence.
I'm not guilty of anything, so I'm going to continue fighting for my freedom until I'm released.
Judith LeBlanc, executive director of the Native Organizers Alliance, said in a statement, quote, "Our hearts are full for Leonard Peltier, his family, and all of Indian country as he finally gets to go home after nearly 50 years behind bars." The FBI and its current and former agents dispute the claims of innocence. Agents Jack Kohler and Ronald Williams were shot and then executed as they lay wounded. Their cars were riddled with dozens of bullet holes. In a statement, the president of the Society of Former Special Agents of the FBI says they were down, they were wounded, they were helpless, and he shot them point blank. It is a heinous crime. Peltier was serving life in prison for the murders. According to the Biden White House, Peltier will transition to home confinement in North Dakota. According to his son, Peltier's tribe, the Turtle Mountain Band of Chippewa, has a home ready for him on the reservation in Belcourt, North Dakota. Peltier is 80 years old and has health problems.
In his 1999 memoir, Peltier admitted to firing shots in the ambush, but said he did not kill the FBI agents. They were on the reservation serving an arrest warrant for robbery. Former President Biden's commutation does not absolve Peltier of his crime. It simply allows him to serve the remainder of his life sentence at home. Well, the state prison sentence system in South Dakota is seeing its share of violence. There are currently more than 100 court cases involving prison inmates at the hands of the Attorney General's office. South Dakota Attorney General Marty Jackley says the problems are on his radar, and his office is sending a message to inmates that violence won't be tolerated.
A judge recently sentenced 2 inmates convicted of attempting to murder a correctional officer inside the state penitentiary. The judge said the officer was lucky to be alive after receiving more than 70 blows, many to his head. The judge sentenced Kyle Jones to an additional 50 years and Lester Monroe to 35. Jones smiled and smirked at the judge and said he wasn't sorry for what he did. He told the judge there will be more violence until inmates are treated with, in his words, more respect. The Attorney General's office prosecuted the case.
It's important to me to make sure we are doing everything we can to keep our guards, keep our other inmate staff, medical staff, as well as other inmates safe.
Right now, the Attorney General's office has 117 criminal cases pending out of the state penitentiary in Sioux Falls. Jackley says he is taking a no-tolerance position and will vigorously prosecute each and every case.
If you're going to do harm to prison officials, there'll be significant consequences. Monroe and Jones receiving 35 and 50-year sentences sent that message to leave our guards alone.
Jackley says Jones' 50-year sentence doesn't even start until 2063, so it is basically a life sentence. The current penitentiary is 120 years old. The governor's office says the building is overcrowded, inefficient, and costly to maintain. A House bill authorizing the construction of a new men's prison in Lincoln County was introduced earlier this month. Department of Corrections officials say a new prison would improve safety for both the officers and inmates.
It is time for a quick break. When we come back, we'll sit down with a member of the League of Women Voters to talk about their priorities this legislative session.